secrets, selling out official secrets and secrets of government to allegedly Pakistani individuals or any enemies of the state, it has to be proven demonstrably in a court of law that there was a material exchange between the individuals concerned. We'll get to all of that in just 1 second, but first let's play out what the police are saying.
बिल्कुल, they were developing her as an asset और जैसे she was in touch with other YouTube influencers जो है जिसको कहते हैं आज के डेट में, जो हमारे देश के और भी जो influencers उसमें भी टच में थे, they were also in touch with the PIOs. अभी वो पूछताछ चल रहा है। पहलगाम हमले के पहले बिल्कुल गई थी, उसके पहले वो मतलब उसके आसपास वो पाकिस्तान भी गई थी, तो इसमें आपस में क्या लिंकेजेस हैं वो हम एस्टैब्लिश कर रहे हैं।
Let's now try and decode this alleged Pakistani spy ring, which the police in Haryana say was operating from the Pakistan High Commission. It was operating in different parts of northern India. At the helm of this alleged racket is a man who's been identified as Ehsan-ur-Rahim, alias Danish, a Pakistani High Commission official who was declared as persona non grata and sent back by India on the 13th of May. Now, the second in command is believed to be this individual who's been arrested, the travel vlogger, the YouTube influencer, Joti Malhotra, who has been arrested allegedly for spying on Pakistan's behalf. Next in this nexus is a man identified as Shakir, alias Rana Shahbaz, whose contact was saved in the mobile phone of Joti Malhotra under the pseudonym Jat Randhawa. Investigators claim that Joti Malhotra shared photographs, videos and details of sensitive locations in India with some of these Pakistani contacts of hers. She also reportedly tried to boost Pakistan's image on social media through some of her travel vlogs. There are 7 people in total who have a direct connection with Danish. 2 alleged spies have also been arrested in Punjab. Ghazala, a 32-year-old widow, visited the Pakistan High Commission in Delhi in February this year to apply for a visa to go to Pakistan. It was here at the Pakistan High Commission at the time that she had applied for a visa that she met with Danish and then began speaking to him regularly. Danish soon persuaded her to switch from WhatsApp to Telegram, claiming it was a safer platform. Another accused who's been held from Punjab is Yamin Mohammed, who reportedly collaborated with Danish in financial dealings and visa-related activities. Devinder Singh Dhillon, a 25-year-old student from Kaithal in Haryana, who has also been arrested, again allegedly for spying for Pakistan's ISI. He allegedly shared information about India's military operations and confidential military base information that was shared with his Pakistani handlers. Another arrest has been that of Arman, allegedly from the New district in Haryana, for sending military information to Pakistan via WhatsApp. And Noman Ilahi, a security guard from Panipat, was also arrested for allegedly sharing sensitive information with Pakistan. Tarif, again, an individual from New, revealed that he was in contact with 2 officials from the Pakistan High Commission who reportedly provided him with SIM cards and asked him to take pictures of the Sirsa airport. Investigations are ongoing into the role of each of these individuals.
More and more cases of arrest and identification of Pakistani stooges and spies of the ISI are coming up from across the country. This morning itself, there have been at least 3 different cases, 3 different people who have been arrested by the Indian security agencies. 2 of them have been arrested from Punjab, where the allegation against them is that during Operation Sindoor, when Operation Sindoor was underway, both these people were actually giving out sensitive information about the troop movements happening in the state of Punjab, Himachal and Jammu as well to their Pakistani handlers, to the ISI. Apart from this, one person has also been arrested from Nu, and this person was also giving out informations and photographs to his handlers of the ISI who were sitting across the borders, and this continuous transfer of information was going on till very, very late. Apart from this, we have already reported as to how Joti Malhotra, the YouTuber, the travel vlogger and 7 other people have already been arrested by the Hisar police for their involvement in cases of spying and giving out information to their handler Danish. Now remember, Danish is the person who has been announced as persona non grata by the Indian administration, and he has been asked to leave from the Pakistani High Commission out here in the national capital on charges of espionage. Now, more and more such cases are coming up. What security agencies believe that over the next few days, as the investigation is underway in this entire matter, it is expected that more such stooges and spies could put their heads up, and all of them would be brought to the books of justice very, very quickly.
Meanwhile, sources within the investigating agencies have now told CNN News 18 that Joti Malhotra's travel background is being verified. The Hisar police, which arrested her, believe that Joti Malhotra was being used as a stooge, an alleged spy by Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence, the notorious spy agency. Before her latest travel to Pakistan, which was a few months ago, Joti had reportedly visited Kashmir, Kerala, and then she had gone to the Mahakumbh in Prayagraj as well. The investigation is on to finding out who was funding her travels, why there is such a huge mismatch in her travel history, and the details on her vlog. In fact, the police are also saying her known sources of income do not match up with the kind of travel and expenses that she seems to have incurred. So according to sources, Danish was employed in the visa section, the visa department of the Pakistan High Commission here in Delhi. Danish was the individual who used to identify people with troublesome backgrounds and then blackmail them into trying to get sensitive information like information about military installations and so on. Danish was then identified as a persona non grata, which means diplomatically India or the government of India does not recognize such a person, and that person then has to be immediately repatriated to their home country. This was done with Danish on the 13th of May, immediately after the Operation Sindoor, at least the operative part of the operation, got over. He was identified and in diplomatic speak as a PNG, and he was sent back to Pakistan. Now, police sources are also saying that Danish used many individuals, Joti Malhotra being one of them, to try and elicit sensitive military installation, particularly information related to military bases, frontline air bases, etc. And they believe some of this information was given to him, was passed on to him before Operation Sindoor happened, and may have been likely used during the course of the Pakistani retaliation as well. But right now, like I said, Joti Malhotra seems to be the one who was in direct contact with this said individual, Danish, who was declared as persona non grata last week. She will, of course, have to be produced in a court of law. The NIA is also questioning her, and whether or not the investigating authorities have enough material to show quid pro quo between Joti Malhotra and Danish, because ultimately that is what will seal her case in a court of law. That material, evidentiary material, needs to be placed on record in front of the court. Let's now move on to the other big story, and that is the politics around Operation Sindoor. The government of India is sending multi-party delegations to various global capitals, whether it is the United States of America, to major countries in Western Europe, to the Middle East. There are 7 different delegations that have been identified. Their job, their aim will be to put forth India's point of view on why it needed to carry out Operation Sindoor in response to the deadly terror attack that happened in Pahalgam on the 22nd of April. Now, these multi-party delegations have members of both the Treasury benches, the ruling party, and also that of the opposition. In fact, there are 7 different delegations will be going to different parts of the world. You can see Dr. Shashi Tharoor will be heading the delegation that heads to the US, Ravi Shankar Prasad, the delegation that will be heading to Western Europe, Mr. Sanjay Jha of the JDU, the delegation that will go to Southeast Asia, Jayant Panda, Jay Panda of the BJP, the delegation that will again go to Central Europe and Eastern Europe. Kanimuri of the DMK and Supriya Sule of the NCP will also be leading delegations. So it's a mix of both ruling party MPs as well as opposition MPs, in all about 50 plus MPs. But the most controversial and stark one seems to be that of Dr. Shashi Tharoor. He will be heading the delegation going to the United States, and that has sparked criticism from within his own party, the Congress party. The Congress says he's not being a loyal foot soldier of the party, and that the party was not consulted before he was chosen to head this delegation to the US. Also, the Congress party says the names of representatives that they gave to the government were ignored, and instead members of the Congress party were chosen who were not officially given the chosen names given by the party to the government. Now, all of this, on the face of it, seems to be political back and forth, because Dr. Tharoor, for whatever it's worth, in the last few weeks after Operation Sindoor, and certainly even after Pahalgam happened, has emerged as one of the most articulate spokespersons for putting forth India's point of view as to why India had to undertake Operation Sindoor and why this was a just retaliation for Pahalgam that was undertaken by Pakistan-sponsored terrorists. But let's listen into some reactions coming into the story, and then we'll also go across to our guests.
Members of Parliament और कुछ प्रमुख leaders और former diplomats और कुछ officials अलग अलग देशों में जाकर के भारत का पक्ष रखेंगे और दुनिया को बताना जरूरी है और दुनिया को भी समझना बहुत जरूरी है कि भारत कितना शांतिप्रिय देश है और कोई भी आतंकवाद को बढ़ावा देता है तो उसके खिलाफ भारत भी कार्रवाई करेगा और पूरा दुनिया को भी कार्रवाई करना चाहिए.
We know 5 Congress MPs are going. These delegations are basically a damage control exercise because the narrative on India has suffered very, very badly in recent weeks. We are now being equated with Pakistan once again. The nuclear issue has become the defining issue. As the Congress party has always said that we will never play politics with national security. From the 22nd of April, we've been stressing unity, solidarity, but we condemn the politicization that has taken place.
Center cannot decide unilaterally who will go from which party. They have to ask for names. They have to call and arrange for wider deliberations with all political parties, especially with the political parties belonging to the opposition camp. And then if you ask for the names, if you ask 5 names from Trinamool will nominate 5 members of parliaments to be a part of those delegations. Now I got a news in the afternoon that the parliamentary minister has said that they are representing the country. I couldn't agree with him more. So this is not a time to play politics. Politics can take a back seat.
Meanwhile, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri today briefed the Standing Committee of Parliament on External Affairs. This happened a short while ago. He made it clear that there was no indication of any nuclear attack either from India's side or any kind of nuclear attack from the Pakistani side, the threat of which some quarters had attributed to American intervention and thereby the scaling down that we saw. In the meeting, members asked the Foreign Secretary why Donald Trump announced the ceasefire before an Indian government official could. The Foreign Secretary told the MPs that there was no interference of the US administration or the Trump White House and that they still continue to maintain that whatever issues there are bilateral between India and Pakistan. So to say that the members have not got any direct response to their question on whether or not the United States interfered, to which the Foreign Secretary clearly said there was no question of any interference by any third party, including the United States. Members also asked a question on the number of jets that India had reportedly lost. The Foreign Secretary said that such details cannot be given out because of military compulsions. The discussion was also around what the Congress raised about External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and what he said a couple of days ago. It is learned that the Foreign Secretary said that Jaishankar's statement was being taken out of context. The fact is that India had informed Pakistan through the regular military channels, which is at the DGMO level, about the precise strikes after the initial phase of its commencement that happened between 1:05 a.m. and 1:30 a.m. on the 7th of February. But the entire controversy has been around the role of Dr. Shashi Tharoor heading the delegation that will be going to the United States. Let's listen into what he had to say about why him and his party seem to be on 2 different pages on this one.
There is no particular resolution that was passed. There was a desire on the part of many members to pass a resolution expressing solidarity with the Foreign Secretary. The MEA and the Foreign Secretary himself did not wish there to be such a resolution. We respected his view, but we conveyed to you, on behalf of all the members, the strong sense of support and solidarity for the Foreign Secretary.
All right, I want to go across to a political face-off to Sinha as national spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Shama Mohammed is national spokesperson of the Congress party. Dr. Shama Mohammed, why does your party have a problem with Dr. Tharoor being chosen to head the delegation to go to the United States to put forth India's view on Operation Sindoor?
See, Zakka, first and foremost, it is not about a party having a problem with anybody or anyone. A party has a discipline and party puts out names. It is the party's choice. Let's understand that. I can ask the BJP, because I saw the names of the BJP people going and I was stunned because they are nobodies. Why is there no Jyotiraditya Scindia? Why is there no Tejasvi Surya? Why is there no RPN Singh? Why is there no Pankaj Singh? People who can speak well, speakers who can have a good hold of what is the foreign affairs. They have not sent any of these people. They just sent who they want. Now, we definitely have our right. We have huge respect for Shashi Tharoor. But at the same time, we decide who we want to send. One. Number two, I have a very pertinent question to ask you, Zakka. Today, the Supreme Court has come down heavily on Vijay Shah. And you should have a debate on why the Supreme Court has asked there should be a probe. You have put Mahmoodabad behind bars in a BJP state by BJP police in Haryana, where he has not spoken anything anti-national. Okay. And there is Vijay Shah, who is an anti-national. And I want to know, today, you're talking about we're going all over the world to prove our case. Why has the Prime Minister of India not taken action and asked Vijay Shah to step down when he insulted a Sena, a colonel that is being anti-army,
let Tuhin respond to that. But Tuhin, let's not get diverted by the Vijay Shah issue. I mean, that question is a valid question. But one second. The fundamental point that the opposition, particularly the Congress, seems to be making is government can't unilaterally decide who from their party can and cannot go. They don't have any particular issue with Shashi Tharoor being chosen.
Yeah, good evening, Zakka. Good evening, everybody. You know, in 1994, when the then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao had asked Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji to head our UNHRC delegation to Geneva, BJP was absolutely proud. Today, you know, think of the Congress party, they feel embarrassed about the fact that Shashi Tharoor has been asked to lead the delegation. This shows the decline of the Congress party. They are so obsessed with their pro-Pakistani agendas. And I'm sorry, normally I don't use the term, but they wanted two people, Gaurav Gogoi and Nasir Hussain. Their whole grouse is about the fact that they wanted these two people who have a shady past. Gaurav Gogoi has some damning allegations made against him by Himanta Biswa Sharma, which includes his stay for 15 days in Pakistan at the behest of ISI without informing India. He does not even rebut those claims. When it comes to Nasir Ahmed, we have all heard slogans of Pakistan Zindabad, play out when he got elected to Rajya Sabha. So if Congress is obsessed with a certain kind of politics, and the kind of dirty politics which Rahul Gandhi has played today, repeatedly questioning the integrity of the armed forces, he can't understand the difference between at the end of the destruction of 9 terror camps, when obviously we intimated our decision to the Pakistan DGMO. He does not even understand the difference between the start of an operation and before the operation. Okay. So I think this Congress party has a lot to introspect. And just one last point, Shama Mohammed was questioning why are we not sending Tejasvi Surya. She does not even know that Tejasvi Surya is a part of the delegation.
It's part of the delegation going to the US. Okay, Dr. Shama Mohammed. No, Dr. Shama Mohammed, the point is when P.V. Narasimha Rao asked Atal Bihari Vajpayee to go in 1994, and even in the 70s when Mr. Vajpayee went and made that famous speech at the United Nations, after the Kargil war, again, the government decided that the opposition multi-party delegations will go. This has been a standard practice. Why are you grouching about who has been chosen and who has not been chosen?
No.
Can you say anything that is wrong with Dr. Tharoor as a spokesman for India's point of view?
I have huge respect for Dr. Tharoor, and I'm not going to say anything against Dr. Tharoor. He's from my state. I have huge respect for him. He is the most knowledgeable. He was the former undersecretary, but certain party takes a certain decision. Now, after 2611, we had Advani questioning us in Parliament. We had an all-party. We had a special session of Parliament to talk about 2611. When we are asking the Prime Minister doesn't attend anything. He spoke about. Wait, I want to reply to Nasir Hussain. Nasir Hussain is a PhD. Let's understand that if you have no knowledge, and he was nothing to do with Pakistan, he's come up the hard way. Gaurav Gogoi who's he spoken against by Himanta Biswa Sharma, a corrupt individual whom you have said, your party said is corrupt. Let's not forget that in the Louis Burgess camp. I did not say it, your party. So let's leave Hemanta. He's a useless fellow. All right, I don't want to go further about him. But my question today is, you are accusing us. I want to know, you not answered why. Why has the Prime Minister of India not asked Vijay Shah to step down? One, where are the 4 terrorists? You are going around the world to talk about this.
we were about to finish them off, all the terrorist camp. Then Donald Trump says, ceasefire, not us. I want to know, where are the 4 terrorists? Hunt them down. Did you hunt them down?
Hunt where are the 4 terrorists? Why are you not hunting them down? It's been a month since. It's been a month almost since Pahalgam. No, let him respond. Let him respond.
He said one more point. One last point. I want to know, where is DSP Devender Singh, who was caught with the Hizbul Mujahideen?
Okay, that's an old story. Let him respond. Let him respond on the Madhya Pradesh minister, who, by the way, Tuhin, the Supreme Court also pulled up today.
No, Zakka, you're a responsible journalist. I'm sure you will have a separate debate on it where I will speak about it. I think let us not digress from a particular topic because
but Shama, that's not the subject matter of today's debate. We will have a separate debate on that. We'll invite you also. Let Tuhin respond. Let Tuhin respond. Yeah. Tuhin, please. Tuhin, yeah.
Yes. Zakka, she's asking about the 4 terrorists. Why have they not shot down? I don't know how many anti-terror operations she has headed, but we have shot down terrorists whose acts date back to 1999. None of the terrorists who have unleashed terror in India will survive. That's a commitment which the government has given. But I don't know how many terror operations she has headed to be questioning why are those 4 terrorists missing. We have shot down somebody who was associated with the IC-814 hijack way back in 1999. We have shot back somebody who was associated with the killing of Daniel Pearl in 2002. Of course, all of these terrorists will be brutalized beyond their imagination and brutalized beyond the imagination of the Congress party.
Okay.
That's a commitment which I'm giving on your show today.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Tuhin Sinha and Dr. Shama Mohammed, thank you for joining us. We'll see how this story plays out. It's unfortunate that there is politics on such a thing as national security, which should have been a bipartisan issue. It has always been after the Kargil war, after the 26/11 attacks. Multi-party delegations comprising of ruling party MPs and opposition MPs have been sent, and it has always been the prerogative of the government to decide who gets to go and where. But they have a job to do, and that is to ensure that India's point of view is put forth at these global capitals, because there is concern also that somehow in this global narrative war that is happening, that India has not put its best foot forward. Hopefully, these MPs will do just that. But talking about what's happened on the battlefield and really in the skies in that sense, and one thing that this latest India-Pakistan conflict has shown is that future wars are not going to be fought merely with tanks or fighter jets or even troops for that matter. The first line of attack in any future war, as we saw in this India-Pakistan case, is going to be drones. It's going to be fought in the skies. These cheap, unmanned aerial vehicles that were sent in swarms by Pakistan across major North Indian cities like Amritsar, Chandigarh, Jammu. It's a new dimension of warfare, as it were. Remember, every one of these drones failed thanks to India's superior air defenses, whether it is the L-70 guns, the Shilkas, the anti-drone guns, or at the higher end, the S-400 air defense system. But here's the thing, just like the terrorists, these drones too need to succeed just once. But for India, it has to intercept them every single time. And that completely changes the dynamic of warfare. Here's a deep dive into how the future of warfare has already probably begun. It's not just in the context of India-Pakistan. We've been seeing this for the last few years in the context of Russia-Ukraine. The future wars are going to be wars of drones. On the 8th of May, just past 8 p.m. in the night, the skies over India's northern frontier lit up. Not with missiles or fighter jets, but with small, silent, buzzing intruders. Drones suspected to have crossed over from Pakistan were spotted over major urban centers like Amritsar, Chandigarh, Jalandhar and Jammu. For the Indian defense establishment, which was waiting for the enemy to attack after Operation Sindoor, this was not just a potential security breach. This was a wake-up call. These were not bulky unmanned aerial vehicles, the UAVs of old, which were primarily used for reconnaissance purposes. These were small, agile, and disturbingly accessible. Modified commercial drones, each of which possibly cost no more than $500 to $1,000, equipped with either surveillance gear for reconnaissance or with light ammunition intended for destruction. The arrival of these swarms of drones heralds a new paradigm in modern warfare, one where scale, stealth, and cost efficiency can upend conventional notions of military superiority. To India's credit, its air defense systems were robust. They responded with remarkable precision. Radar jamming, surface-to-air intercepts, and rapid mobilization of anti-drone squads ensured that none of these suspected UAVs caused any major damage. Over 600 Pakistani drones were intercepted and destroyed by India's sophisticated air defense systems under Operation Sindoor. They deployed over 1,000 anti-aircraft guns and 750 short-range surface-to-air missiles, both along the line of control and the international border. The integrated air defense system, the Akash Tir, combined with the Air Force's Integrated Aerial Command and Control System, IACCS, enabled rapid detection, tracking, and neutralization of these drone threats. But the message had been delivered. Warfare, as we know it, is evolving, and the skies are now open to a new kind of combatant. What makes this drone warfare so revolutionary is the cost efficiency and the accessibility of this technology. Anyone in their godowns, in their repair shops, can build these drones, which can become deadly weapons. Unlike traditional warfare assets like tanks or fighter jets, these drones can be produced and deployed at a fraction of the cost. Commercial-grade drones suitable for any combat activity can cost anywhere between $500 to $1,000, and that makes them accessible to a wide range of actors, not just state actors, but also non-state actors. Now, in stark contrast to this, the F-35 fighter jet, which is the most advanced stealth fighter aircraft in the world, it costs around $100 million per unit. That makes it prohibitively expensive for any kind of mass deployment. Drones, therefore, are offering a disruptive alternative which can overwhelm expensive air defense systems through sheer numbers and swarm tactics. Also, traditional radars might find it difficult to detect these incoming drones because they fly at the height of treetops and not necessarily where traditional fighter jets or other aircraft would be flying. Now, this shift in warfare, this is not exclusive to the latest India-Pakistan conflict. This is not exclusive just to the subcontinent. In fact, it finds its most striking precedent in the ongoing war in Ukraine. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, it came armed with one of the most formidable arsenals, militarily speaking, anywhere in the world. Russia had tanks, artillery, fighter jets, missile systems. Ukraine was outgunned and outmanned. It turned to defensive ingenuity. It turned to drones. In the early days of this conflict, Turkish-made Bayraktar or TB2 drones became the symbol of Ukrainian resistance. It has a wingspan of just 12 meters and a relatively low radar signature. The Bayraktar's TB2 destroyed Russian armored columns, command posts, and even some of their naval assets, all of which happened at a fraction of the cost of traditional weapons. Ukraine pioneered the use of swarms of these low-cost kamikaze-style drones to overwhelm Russian air defenses and also strike deep into Russian territory, including in major cities like Moscow. In one of the largest drone attacks on Moscow, Ukrainian forces launched hundreds of drones simultaneously, forcing Russia to shoot down over 300 drones in one single night. This happened just a few months ago. And just over this past weekend, after the failure of the US-brokered talks between Russia and Ukraine, in Turkey, Russia sent a swarm of drones to Kiev in what has been the most widespread destruction and death that has been seen in this conflict in the last few weeks. Supply chains behind these drones are also geopolitically significant. Turkey has been a major supplier of the Bayraktar TB2 drones, while Iran has matched its supplies to Russia. Iran has sent thousands of Shahid 136 kamikaze drones to Moscow. The Shahid 136 is a low-cost, disposable drone. It's got a range of about 2,000 kilometers, so it can be fired from Moscow and go all the way up to Kiev. This has now become a key component of Russia's drone strategy, including in the weekend attack that we saw over Kiev. What drones lack in power, in firepower, in ammunition, they make up for that in numbers as also in cost effectiveness. Modern conventional weapons, whether it is fighter jets or tanks or long-range missiles, are prohibitively expensive, and they're also technologically and logistically complex. A single American M1 Abrams tank costs around $10 million. A T-90, which is Russia's most advanced main battle tank, costs just about the same, about $10 million. But it is no less cumbersome. You compare that to a drone that can be built in a high school laboratory, or it can be built in your godown, in your garage. It can simply be built from the ground up using modified commercial parts which can be bought online. A swarm of 1,000 drones, each costing about $1,000, can be deployed for the cost of a single tank. And unlike conventional forces, drones can loiter, they can adapt mid-flight, and they can most crucially be sacrificed without any hesitation. This economic equation is changing the very DNA of military planning. You don't need air superiority anymore. You just need ingenuity. You need to be able to scale and swarm these drones. It is no longer about who has the biggest guns or fighter jets or missiles. It is about who can weaponize technology the fastest and the cheapest. Turkey and Iran are leading exporters in the drone space, supplying drones to state and non-state actors. China has introduced a rainbow series of drones which is already being marketed across Asia and Africa. And countries like India and Pakistan, which have traditionally focused on mainstream battlefield weapons like tanks and missiles and air power, are rapidly now shifting gears to drones. The recent drone incidents over the Indian airspace were not just security threats, these were demonstrations of capability, proof that drones can be launched cheaply, stealthily, and repeatedly, that they can enter civilian airspace, they can evade detection for critical moments, and they can, at the end of the day, test a nation's war preparedness. And while India successfully intercepted all of these drones, the fact remains that the cost-benefit calculus now changes. It now favors the attacker because it's cheap to launch these attacks. Drones have become the machine version of low-cost terrorists which Pakistan has been using in its asymmetric warfare against India for decades. From the fields of Donbass in eastern Ukraine to the skies over Amritsar, drones have proven that they are not just tools of war, they are now the new instruments of conflict. The age of drones has just begun. All right, I want to go across to a person who knows a thing or two about drones. Group Captain retired M.J. Vinod is former fighter pilot of the Indian Air Force and, of course, now a pioneer of a frontline drone company. Group Captain, thank you for speaking with us. So this whole paradigm, I think it started with the Russia-Ukraine war, then we're seeing it in other low-intensity conflicts, but now certainly here in India, it has come home to roost in the context of the recent conflict between India and Pakistan, where drones were the first line of attack. Certainly by Pakistan, of course, the Indian Akash Tir systems, the IACCS sort of dismantled every one of them. Our air defenses were very good. India also launched these loitering munitions against Pakistan. Why do you think this is where defense planners, military policy analysts should be paying much more attention to in future wars and future conflicts?
A great question, Zakka, and thank you for having me over. On your very platform, the print platform, Zakka, I think in Jan of 2021, I had written an article on which drones are lethal, how to detect and counter them. That old is the thought process of drones being a lethal, tool to achieve your means. See, there's a old saying which says end justifies means. And I've been saying this even when I was in uniform, Zakka, that the last of the fighter pilot is probably gone. The last of the fighter aeroplanes have probably been designed. So, like you correctly in your opening statement said, drones are here to stay. And drones are changing the nature of the warfare. Did we achieve a counter-drone technology which was nearly foolproof in this first phase of, I would call it a skirmish with Pakistan? Yes, we did. Will we continue to have that kind of advantage? I really don't know, Zakka, because the way Pakistanis have employed the drones that they got from either Turkey or they home grew it, or there are a couple of drones that they got from Italy. The way they have employed it itself is in my opinion, is not A, thought about, and B, probably in a great hurry, they launched it right across from, Srinagar down to Bhuj Nalia.
Yeah.
Could they have, spearheaded in one particular direction? These are questions I ask myself. So when I ask these questions, I realize, another thing Zakka, we have is we have a comparison of, like you covered, how Ukrainians used drones right up to the hinterland and heart of Russia, down to Moscow, and the Kyiv incident that you covered. And both these have shown to the world that these can be effectively utilized, and these can probably penetrate the best of the air defense. In spite of that kind of example being available with us, India managed to bring down most of these rogue. I use that word. Most of these low cost, I would want to call it the rogue drones, down. So probably we looked at counter drone also as seriously as the drone technology themselves and itself. And I know that for a fact because one of the counter drone technology with another company we were working with, we supplied the counter drone.
Okay.
So we also looked at the small drones countering the incoming drones, and probably it was used in this particular operations as well.
But Group Captain, tell me this, even today, the frontline state-of-the-art war machines are always looked at, your F-35s, your JF-17s, your Sukhoi, MKIs and so on. And these cost millions of dollars, right? Someone like an Elon Musk has been saying that the F-35 needs to be retired, that fighter jets will not be the frontline instrument in conflict anymore. But people are just not buying that. Arms companies are making billions of dollars selling this. But if future conflicts are going to be decided by these drones, which are low in cost, easy to operate, easy to scale, and most importantly, like I said in the story, it's like the terrorists. They just need to be successful once. And the drones need to be successful just once. They can send hundreds of swarms of drones, and India will have to use expensive air defenses to neutralize these drones. Why then are people, and I'm asking you this as someone who's worn both hats. You've been a fighter pilot earlier in your life, and now you are at the front line of drone and counter drone technology. Why then are military planners not investing seriously in this capability?
Super question. In fact, post the way we countered the incoming drones and some of the success we had in not letting the manned fighters cross the border, and yet hit 11 bases, and they hit it with drones. Those were unmanned weapon of choice that we had, including BrahMos, and BrahMos is essentially a drone, though a high-cost version of that, but it still is a drone, isn't it? So we've learned our lesson, looks like, because the next 6 months to 1 year, we are going to go, I think, full hog on employing and deploying and procuring more and more of these low-cost version. And another advantage I had, Zakka, was I was post this attack on Saudi Arabia by Yemenis, if you remember, on Aramco.
Correct.
I got invited there, and I got to see up and close as to how these fighters of Yemenis succeeded in reaching Aramco. And there I realized about 60 to 70% of these drones were launched from Saudi soil. They were not launched from elsewhere. That is something, like you said, it needs to be successful once. And if it is launched from, small drones have a problem of range. Larger drones do not have that problem.
Yeah.
The larger the range is, bigger the drone is, easier the detection is, easier the prosecution is. The one which we are seeing on the screen, they are smaller, very low RCS, and in fact, some of them are made out of foam, and they are like absolutely transparent. You cannot pick it up using any radar at all. What happens if those get launched from your soil and they succeed just once? That is my biggest worry,
Also, in the
And,
India-Pakistan context, I mean, distance is not that much. I mean, it's 60 kilometers between Amritsar and Lahore, so it's not that much of a range to hit. But we'll leave it at that, Group Captain. Thank you so much for this fascinating conversation and how really, the future wars are going to be fought and what is going to be at the cutting edge of future war technology. Certainly, this India-Pakistan episode has demonstrated that drones are here to stay. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit more detail about what happened on the ground from what happened in the skies. India managed to decimate Pakistan, attack at least 11 of its frontline air bases, and still managed to ensure that all of these Pakistani drones and missiles that they had sent in retaliation were not able to penetrate Indian air defenses. That in itself is a huge success story. And now, a week after Operation Sindoor, it is now slowly beginning to sink in the scale and the extent and what has really been achieved during the course of Operation Sindoor that lasted those 4 days. Our defense reporter Akash Sharma visited the Udhampur Army Air Base, which is also the head of the Indian Army's Northern Command, and he got the inside story as to what transpired there. Remember, Udhampur was one of the bases that Pakistan claimed had been attacked by their drones, had been damaged by their drones. Akash Sharma was invited there, and this is the reality of what happened on the ground.
Operation Sindoor showcased the sort of synergy that has been achieved within the services and the sort of coordination that is there among Indian Army, Indian Air Force and Indian Navy. Systems like Akash Tir played an important role in the entire operation, and when we talk about integration, so this is one system that was coordinating with Indian Air Force and in fact was coordinating with the officers of Indian Army deployed on ground. I am showing you this control unit of Akash Tir where you have the officials sitting inside and working on the sort of data that they have been receiving from different locations. We know that how around 6 nodes of Akash Tir were used alongside western border to deal with the sort of threats that were coming from across the border. There you have the visuals from this Akash Tir unit where these army officers are in fact sitting and working on the data that they have been receiving. This unit is further coordinating with Command and Control Center of Indian Air Force. In fact, the role of Akash Tir is to identify, in fact, first detect, then identify, and then tell the officials on ground that which weapon is going to be used and should be used against the threat that is coming, in fact, from across the border. A number of attempts were made by Pakistan to, in fact, destruct the military facilities here in Udhampur, but they were not successful. All thanks to the air defense units of Indian Army, in fact, the gun systems like L-70. I am showing you the visuals of the upgraded L-70, which was very much used in the entire operation when it is about the attempts that were made by Pakistan. So this gun system thwarted every attempt. In fact, on this particular location, we had 40 to 50 drones that were neutralized by this L-70 that was recently upgraded. Starting from 8th May, after Operation Sindoor was launched by Indian Armed Forces, Pakistan attempted several military installations in India, and one such location was this Udhampur location where we have the Army Command Headquarters. In fact, at this place, 40 to 50 drones were shot down by Indian Armed Forces. As of now, I am showing you the wreckages of those drones which were shot down by Indian Army. This is Yiha-3, the Turkish origin drone that was sent by Pakistan, and in fact it was shot down by Indian Armed Forces. Indian Army specifically used the AD guns to shot down. In fact, I am showing you the fragments where you can see the wreckages, and in fact the evidence is that how Pakistan was involved in sending these drones to the military installations here in the country. In fact, I'll ask Vijay Arjun to show you these visuals. There you have something written on it. We know that how several strikes were carried out by Indian Armed Forces, and this is the reason maybe that there you have Jabaze Murid, with love. It shows that somewhere it was sent from Pakistan, and from Murid ke possibly it is indicating, because there you have Jabaze Murid written on this sort of wreckage. This comes under loitering munition, and we have been told that this particular drone had explosives, which was in fact later removed by the Indian Armed Forces. But this is very important because now we have several sort of these wreckages which are somewhere indicating that Turkish drones were indeed used in the sort of attempts that were made by Pakistan soon after the strikes by India at the 9 terror camps within Pakistan. This is just one evidence, but along the country, along the military stations, we have different drones, missiles, and in fact failed missiles from China that were used by Pakistan.
That was our Akash Sharma reporting from the Udhampur military station, one of the sites that Pakistan claimed it attacked successfully in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor. And finally, before we wrap up, US President Donald Trump has come back from a very successful three-nation trip to the Middle East. One thing is clear, and it was clear through that trip as well, that Trump is going to cut a deal with Iran to try and limit its nuclear program, no matter what the fallout may be. Particularly on Israel, which is America's closest ally in the region. Trump did not visit Israel in that three-nation tour, and that has not gone unnoticed in Tel Aviv. Here's Fareed Zakaria's take on why Trump wants this deal with Iran so bad, the same deal that he walked out from in 2018.
President Trump's instinct for disruption and tendency to shoot from the hip has caused chaos, opposition, and abrupt reversals. But this week, Trump reminded us that sometimes his willingness to take risks and think outside the box can shake up tired old ways. In Saudi Arabia, he surprised everyone by meeting with Syria's new leader, a former jihadi, and announcing that he would remove all U.S. sanctions on the country. He has also suggested repeatedly that his administration is willing to make a new nuclear deal with Iran. If so, he could bring a new level of peace and stability to the Middle East. Trump's newfound interest in an Iran deal is ironic, verging on bizarre. After all, he was the one who pulled the U.S. out of the original Iran nuclear deal, even though most serious observers, including U.S. intelligence agencies, believed that Iran had been adhering to the terms of the deal. This is one more example of Donald Trump creating a problem, reversing himself, and then proudly announcing to the world that he has brilliantly reset the situation. But whatever the past, events have transpired that could make for a better deal today than before. The two fundamental shifts that are most relevant here are Iran's weakness and Saudi Arabia's strength. Iran is in worse shape than it has been in a generation. Decades of chronic mismanagement of the economy, exacerbated by sanctions, massive corruption, and a brutal dictatorship have caused deep public dissatisfaction with the Islamic regime. Add to that last year's stunningly successful Israeli assaults on Hezbollah and Iran's own air defenses, plus Tehran's closest Arab ally, Syria's Bashar al-Assad's government collapsed, and the primary opposition forces, whom Iranian-backed militias had been fighting for years, became the new government. Put this all together, and Iran is at its weakest point since Saddam Hussein invaded the fledgling Islamic Republic in 1980. Second, Saudi Arabia has been growing in strength, and its foreign policy has been transformed over the last few years. It has negotiated a truce with the Houthis, improved relations with Qatar, and developed better ties with countries like Lebanon and Iraq. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has realized that to achieve his primary dream, the modernization of Saudi Arabia, he needs stability in the region. The most remarkable sign of this has been the growing rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran, with officials of the two countries meeting with some regularity. Saudi officials now explicitly support a new Iran nuclear deal. The obstacle to the deal is what it has always been, Bibi Netanyahu. But increasingly, his obstinacy does not find support from Saudi Arabia or other Gulf states. Why? Perhaps they're less wary of Iran because of its weakened state. Perhaps because Netanyahu's ferocious war in Gaza has made it harder for them to back anything he advocates. And perhaps because they realize that such a deal is in fact the best way to contain the dangers of nuclear proliferation in the region. Additionally, one of the compromises being mooted, a regional consortium that would enrich uranium, could be a helpful model that would pave the way for Saudi Arabia's own plan to have a civilian nuclear program. The challenge for Trump is that his administration is divided on this issue between two camps, realists and neoconservatives. The former seem to include Trump himself and Steve Witkoff, the chief negotiator. On the other side are various Iran hawks, most prominently Marco Rubio, along with a bevy of congressional Republicans. The two sides still seem to be battling, which explains why the administration seems to change its tone and emphasis every few days. The main Iran hawk, of course, is Bibi Netanyahu, who warns that Iran will get a bomb soon unless it is bombed. But it's worth keeping in mind that Netanyahu has been predicting that Iran is months away from getting a nuclear bomb for at least 13 years. Actually, he wrote a book in which he claimed Iran was on a relentless path to a nuclear bomb in 1995. He's asserted that Iran is a messianic, apocalyptic cult, and therefore negotiating with them would be pointless. The more prosaic reality is that Iran is run by a bunch of brutish mullahs and corrupt generals who have spent their energies amassing fortunes in this world, not preparing for the next one. They've found it more advantageous to stay months away from a nuclear weapon rather than to cross that line. They want sanctions relief, not an end-of-days conflagration. There is a deal to be made with such men, not to become friends, but to serve a common interest of diffusing the dangers of nuclear arms races and bringing stability to a Middle East that has been scarred by generations of war and terror. Donald Trump is uniquely positioned to override Netanyahu's objections, cut through the usual Washington battle lines, and grab this opportunity.
Network 18 decimates Times Internet with over 6 times more unique users on social media. Network 18, the undisputed leader of news networks, way ahead of the times. Co-presented by... This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Let me begin by talking about the investigation. So Vikram Singh, I want to ask you this. Is it possible that so many individuals from across different states in the country were traveling to Pakistan and went unnoticed for months, perhaps years?
This is absolutely, I would say that a very good question, but this is absolutely highly unlikely that such incidents go unnoticed. Pakistan and the ISI have come out with a very well calibrated roadmap, and they have added a whole new dimension to espionage, that is using the so-called influencers. And one influencer has a snowballing effect, leads to 5 to 50, 50 to 500, as you would say, 4 states and 10 arrests till now. And as you very rightly mentioned in your opening remarks, this is just the tip of the iceberg. You scrape a little. I also would like to mention the Shahzad has been arrested in Muradabad by the UP ATS, and absolutely no known sources of income, yet a palatial bungalow, and the eyebrows were raised only after the Pahalgam incident and Operation Sindoor. Operation Sindoor also has come down like a ton of bricks on all these undesirable elements, and which should have happened earlier. These were actually sleeper cells that were activated before Pahalgam, as in the case of Joti, who visited Pahalgam and Pakistan, and then she was activated. Now, during the course of Operation Sindoor, these sleeper cells must be converted into dead cells, and dead cells within a span of 30 working days. Because what the damage that they have done and the manner in which they have conversed and interacted on encrypted platforms. And I would say that there is a dedicated platform known by Thoraya that has been installed by Pakistan to be used in the border areas by the devious elements. So Thoraya, Signal, Snapchat, and also other platforms that you had mentioned, WhatsApp and Telegram.
Telegram, yes.
So these apps and other encrypted material that have been used go to show that they're very well trained by the ISI and very highly paid. You could see the bedroom of Jyoti's father and you could see the lifestyle of Jyoti. You could make out that there is no comparison between the lifestyles of the father and the daughter. Yes, the daughter has done well for herself in a very dubious, questionable, in a very criminal intent. And therefore, this problem need not be just nipped in the bud, but it's now the time to be crushed in the bud. And our intelligence and the ATF have the wherewithal to do it now. But yes, the sorry part is, I'm sorry to say, that there are those who say that let us wait for the investigation, let us wait for the entire truth to come. Well, there'll be cover fire always, but now is the time. Shoot first, apologize later.
And now we're seeing that investigation take place, but Anil Trigubiniyat, as far as this High Commission officer is concerned, we do not know how high or low he goes in the hierarchy, what kind of pull he had on both sides of the border. He's now been declared persona non grata. He's been sent back, but there are still certain staff members in the Pakistani High Commission. It's not completely shut down, and there could be n number of people that could be involved in this. They also have diplomatic immunity. How do we then look at weeding these people out?
Well, it has been dealt with, as you know. He has been declared persona non grata. I mean, that is how you do it. And it is a standard practice to embed the security service officers into the embassies. This has been going on in all countries. But this is the job of the host country to have a look at it and be careful that they do not, as Mr. Singh has said it. I mean, they are given diplomatic immunities and they are available with all kinds of facilities that are there. And this particular man, Mr. Danish, as you know, that he has been involved in earlier also one of the ladies, an assistant professor who had gone to get the visa. She was asked whether she can work for them. So this is the kind of practice they do it. And this has been not the first time that these people have been caught. But as Mr. Singh has rightly mentioned, that in the wake of Pahalgam and the conflict that ensued further, they have all been activated. But today we have this a new kind of thing, which the friend in the panel would tell you, that this kind of influencers also have a tremendous influence. And that is something that is very different kind of a thing and needs to be looked at in a different way with the technology that has moved up the chain.
Viewers, the time for indulgence is over. Mark my words. The circus of unchecked YouTubers and so-called influencers has mutated from harmless entertainment into a festering threat to the Indian Republic. The likes of Ranveer Allahabadiya shocked us all as he wallowed in sleaze under the guise of podcasting, and Dhruv Rathi heard Sikh sentiments in a reckless grab for views. And just when we thought that this desiccated ecosystem couldn't unravel further, another YouTuber and influencer, Joti Malhotra, yes, the lady on your screens, seen at different places with Nawaz Sharif's daughter, Maryam Sharif, or at the border, or in Pakistan, or at the Pakistan High Commission iftar parties. This woman, Joti Malhotra, has been arrested because she is an alleged Pakistani asset. Yes, an alleged Pakistan-groomed influencer. What began as a democratization of media has become a sewer of disinformation, narcissism, and foreign manipulation. Worse, these individuals answer to no one despite holding sway over the minds of an entire generation. Jyoti's is an alarming case. She was weaponized by the Pakistan state to sway public opinion in Islamabad's favor here in this country, and to get the unsuspecting public to take a benign view of Pakistan, as if Pakistan was a benefactor and not an exporter of terror. Let me run you through why she has been arrested, viewers, and you'll be shocked. She was arrested by the Civil Lines Police in Haryana and booked under the Official Secrets Act and the BNS. She was developed as an asset as part of Pakistan's anti-India information warfare stratagem during a visit